Welcome back to another episode of Federico Talks Watches. Today is the day that I know a lot of you guys have been waiting for, and that is my quick little review of TGV's Seiko Flightmaster. Now, if you saw our last collaboration video with TGV and Theo and Harris, we swapped watches. So TGV got Christian's JLC, Christian got my vintage Atlantic World Timer, and I, of course, got TGV's Seiko Flightmaster, a watch that he really loves, and I gotta be honest with you, isn't really, or wasn't really, my cup of tea. So I was interested to see what I'd think about it. So we each wore them for about a week, and we decided to review each other's watches. Now, of course, can't forget the wristwatch check, and in honor of this review, I'm wearing my favorite Seiko at the moment, and that is the Seiko SKX. Perfect summer watch, fantastic bracelet, even though it's built really cheaply, I find it really, really comfy, and it kind of got me started in the Seiko camp. Now, I have a new obsession as well, since we're talking about Seiko, and that is the new Paddy Diver Pepsi, the Seiko reissue Turtle. I love that watch, and I'm really, really thinking of buying one, but it's significantly more expensive than the SKX. Yes, I know the new movement, hand winding, and all that good stuff, but, it's a little, it's significantly more expensive than the SKX, so I am thinking about it, even though it's only about $400. But man, what a beautiful watch, and I'm willing to bet it'll be part of the collection rather soon, because I'm drooling all over it. Especially since a good friend of ours, Justin Miles, keeps posting these crazy pictures to the Facebook group. And yeah, it's really hard to resist at this point. So anyway, the Seiko Flightmaster. What do I think? Well, let's get a few details out of the way first. This is the Seiko Flightmaster SNA411. And you can pick it up on Amazon for exactly $200, or at least that's what I found it for today. It's a 42mm watch, and it's 13mm thick, which is extraordinarily thin for a chronograph. But of course, this is a quartz movement. And it's a multi-function quartz movement. It's got a chronograph, a date, a GMT, and an alarm. And it's Japanese, made by Seiko. Can't really ask for much more than that. And one of the most amazing things, and I'm going to show a crown side shot of the watch here, is it has screw down pushers, so it's 200-meter water resistant. That's very uncommon for chronographs, usually because the more holes you have to put in the case, the less water resistant it is. So 200-meter water resistance is definitely a very, very welcome feature, making this a pretty sturdy watch. It's got a slide rule bezel, probably one of the most complicated ones I've ever seen, and it's got a tachymeter scale on the rehaut. Now this makes the rehaut look very, very deep, as you guys can see in the picture here. This is one of the most complicated bezel rehaut dial combinations I've ever seen, and it's very much inspired and in line with a Breitling Navitimer, even though the Navitimer is a little bit more classic in its look. It's also got a Hardlex crystal, which is Seiko's own brand of mineral crystal, and this is one of the few things I take issue with on this watch, and I'll get more into that later. So what do I think? Well, firstly, let me tell you, I was getting into this review not really loving this watch too much. Yes, I mean, I didn't hate it, I didn't dislike it, but it wasn't really doing much for me. But after a week on the wrist, it certainly changed my tune a little bit, and I can understand certainly why TGV likes it so much. First of all, it's 42mm, and I'm like, wow, that's not really a size TGV wears a lot. But let me tell you, this wears significantly smaller. It's got very short lugs, and I say it wears closer to a 40mm watch. So for you guys that have small wrists, you don't have to worry too much. And it's got a ton of features. I mean, I've never really owned a quartz chronograph before, but I can see the use. It's very, very accurate, and TGV really loves the dual time function, because I know he tracks London time a lot, so that makes a lot of sense. But I did kind of cheat a little bit. I couldn't figure out how to work the alarm. These quartz movements are kind of nuts and really hard to work. However, it is there if you guys want to learn to use it, but I didn't bother. I just kind of played around with the GMT and the chronograph. It's also a Seiko movement, and a lot can be said about that. I mean, yes, it's quartz, but it's very high quality and very durable. Now, the thing I like most about this watch is it's obviously inspired by the Navitimer. Now, it's not a straight homage, it's its own watch. It's got a few differences, but the slide rule bezel, the chronograph, things like that definitely take inspiration from the Navitimer. But it also improves in a couple of ways on the Navitimer, like the screw-down pushers. Once again, a side shot right here. The Navitimer doesn't include screw-down pushers, and that's why its water resistance is only 30 or 50 meters, even up to 100, depending on which Navitimer model you get. But this is a whopping 200 meter, so that makes it a really, really tough watch, and certainly an improvement. You can also see Seiko made the dial very, very complicated. Now, this might not be for everybody, but it goes to show what care they took. I mean, it's not really easy to make a dial this cluttered. I mean, I'm sure it used soft pad printing, which is an expensive way to print on a dial using a rubber ball and ink. And they also included other details, such as making the chrono second hand and minute hand yellow, which is a nice little touch, and it shows attention to detail. Now, the case, of course, is fully high polish. We don't have different levels of polish here, and a picture of the case back. As you can see, it's very, very simple, but it's a $200 watch. So I find this perfectly acceptable. The bezel is also very, very smooth to rotate, and it's bidirectional, which makes it even harder to make a watch 200 meter water resistant, because you have to put a double seal in between the case and the bezel. So good job, Seiko. Now, on to the things that I personally don't like about the watch. Firstly, the Hardlex crystal. I don't know if you guys can tell from the pictures, but it's slightly domed. This is the same crystal as my SKX, but my SKX is flat. This one is slightly domed, as I mentioned. Now, this crystal has two downsides, in my opinion. First of all, even on the SKX, and especially on the domed version on the Flightmaster, it attracts fingerprints and dust like no other. I mean, this really gets dirty and you have to wipe it down very often, at least I find. And it lacks any sort of anti-reflective coating. So, you get a lot of reflections. Occasionally, the dial doesn't really pop, especially if you've got fingerprints in the dial and there's reflections, you might struggle a little bit to get a one-off time reading. Now, the Swiss more expensive watches put single or double anti-reflective coating, and that's meant to make it look like the crystal isn't even there. Now, I'm not saying Seiko should have used the sapphire crystal, because that would have made it significantly more expensive, as Hardlex is much cheaper being mineral, but I'm sure they could have sprung for some anti-reflective coating. And that is my biggest pet peeve on this watch, is the dial just isn't as clear as it could be because of that crystal. And it doesn't help that the rehaut and the bezel are so deep and there's so many dimensions. Now, that I actually like about the watch, but the anti-reflective coating is a real shame to not have. I also personally don't like the fact that it wears like a small 42, but for TGV, it makes a lot of sense. So that is very much a personal opinion. But what can I say, guys? For $200, you're getting a multi-function, extremely well-made watch from Seiko, and if you love Navitimers, you're definitely getting the same feeling. Now, TGV wears this a lot as a beater watch, and I can see why. It's really rough and tumble, it's very, very accurate, and it's not too expensive. If it breaks, you don't have to worry about it too much. He's got a big attachment to this watch, no doubt like I'm attached to my SKX, and I can definitely tell why, even though, honestly, it isn't my cup of tea, and I probably wouldn't add it to my collection. Anyway, guys, what do you think? Let me know if you enjoy your Flightmaster, or if you own a Flightmaster, or if there's another Seiko chronograph you prefer. Leave a comment in the comment section below. And please don't forget to like and subscribe to this video or my channel if you found it useful. a lot more stuff to come in the future. Once again, thank you so much for sticking around for another episode of Federico Talks Watches, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.